To Sawmill River Audubon's Bird Chat for Tuesday, August 25th, 2026. I'm Ann Swain, Executive Director, Sawmill River Audubon. As always with all our programs, we want to give a shout out to the wider community we're part of here in the Hudson Valley of New York. And here's just a look at Audubon groups, bird clubs, natural history societies from Albany down to New York City. So all of these groups offer free bird walks, free programs. And then for New York State, we always give a shout out to NYSOA, the New York State Ornithological Association, who connects not just Audubon chapters, but bird clubs and natural history societies across the state. You can find out more about them at nybirds.org. Lastly, another way that New York birders connect now is via Discord, another channel of the internet for sharing messages and images, and many states now, if not all of them, have birding discords. So that's where a lot of the rare bird reporting and bird discussion happens. And you can see our tutorial on how to get started with Discord and how to connect with the New York State RBA Discord at our chat page, sawmillriveraudubon.org/chat. So tonight's bird chat is going to focus on hawk migration and hawk counts, and we're delighted to have Trudy Baddeley and Michael Bachnick with us to present on Hook Mountain and Lenoir hawk count, respectively. And I'll do an intro just on Hawkwatches and hawk migration in general. And then we'll have time for your questions and observations at the end. So thanks for being with us tonight. So the hawks and the falcons. You may see them around our neighborhoods and parks. And a big shift change is just about underway. Many of these birds shift south, maybe from eastern Canada, northern New England to us, and many from us further south. And it's all about food, right? So the kestrels, which eat an amazing number of insects and small mammals, they're not going to stay in an area if there's heavy cover. Sometimes they've lingered at Croton Point, for example, but they'll shift south. And same for many others too. So the champion on this, the one people really rave about, you'll see in a moment in a video at Hawkwatches, is the broadwing hawk, because they go in one concentrated burst. And again, these birds eat a lot of reptiles, amphibians, insects, and so they need to head south. And look where they go, all the way down to South America. I think that's amazing. I had a chance to be in Venezuela before all the trouble many years ago, almost 20 years ago now. And we were in a valley in a national park that had, 40 broadwings in it. It was extraordinary. I wondered how many of them might have been from New York. Very, very cool to see. So yeah, migration is underway. The interesting thing to think about, though, it's a long process, August through December. Different birds moving at different times. You can see this bulge down here in the orange for broadwing hawk. Pretty much all come in a very short period. Some continue through, like the northern harrier. And it's pretty interesting to look for and see what birds to expect when. So I have something to give you a sense of the excitement of this from Audubon Greenwich. Those are hawks. Broadwings.
1,000 birds right here. Oh my God. Wow. Wow. Oh my God. It's one of the biggest kettles I've ever seen here.
Some of you have been to Audubon, Connecticut to the Greenwich Audubon Center. You can park and walk across the lawn. It's very accessible to be part of this Hawkwatch. And that excitement in September when the thousands of broadwings come through. Pretty neat. Good sample of that. And they're opening tomorrow. I have that wrong hawk. Yes, that should be Quaker Ridge, not Chestnut Ridge. Beg your pardon. At least the name's right at the bottom. So Quaker Ridge Hawkwatch starting tomorrow, Wednesday, 8/26. This year's hawk counter is pictured there. They have a paid hawk counter as well as volunteers on the weekend. So roll up any time there and join in. It's pretty amazing. And I imagine Tom can add some observations about that towards the end. I know he frequents there. And then to consider this, a good slide from Audubon Greenwich of where they go from here, right? So they're going down the spine of Central America into South America. And so at Panama, And actually, Veracruz, Mexico, has extraordinary numbers. See where they're pointing on the map. And also Belize. So pretty amazing watching this mass of birds shift their residency twice a year across the continent. So if you want to learn about all the hawkwatches, the big place to go to is hawkcount.org, part of Hawk Migration Association, no longer of North America. I should have changed that slide. They've changed their name to reflect that they're more than North America. So the Hawk Migration Association has this website, hawkcount.org, where all these hawk counts put in their data. And you can look up different hawk counts there. And you can look across New York State. Each of these points is a hawk counting area. Click on it and see the numbers, see what they've seen over the last few days of the fall, and so forth. It's pretty amazing. Hawkcount.org. And also from Audubon Greenwich, just a reminder that the best conditions are usually the days following poor weather conditions, passage of cold front. But our winds are changing, and I think Trudy may say something about that, and maybe Michael too. But usually we say northerly winds with a westerly component. It's nice to have some clouds up there, otherwise your eyes are starting to water from a blue sky. Yeah, and they use all kinds of amazing techniques to get a lift from heat, from wind hitting the ridge, lifts them up like an elevator, and they soar along to the next lift. It's how they travel so far with less energy. So Trudy will tell you about this, but this is a consortium across Northeast and the different hawkwatches here, all up and down. And lastly, we weren't going to be talking so much about how to tell hawks apart tonight. That's another topic. But if you haven't already, Northeast Hawkwatch provided this handout, and we've provided it online, both at that QR code and at that website address you see there, Sawmill River Audubon /Raptors. And knowing Lynn, she's so fast, she'll probably put it in the chat if you want to click through there or use that QR code. I'll show this at the end too. So that's a nice handout there. And there's a lot of resources, lastly, to enjoy hawks and learn how to tell them apart. If you don't know about the Raptor ID app, I think it might only be iOS, though, Apple. It's free, and it's full of images and videos of all the raptors of North America from Hawkwatch International. That's an amazing free app. The other place to know is the Raptor ID Facebook. If you use Facebook, that's a neat group that really works through identifications together, as well as the other resources. And that's in that same handout. So the same handout that had those hawk illustrations, the third page lists all these different resources if you want to get that. All right. And lastly, as always, we always recommend Cornell Lab of Ornithology's Bird Academy. They have excellent classes. You buy them once and you can rewatch them as the next season comes up to remind yourself. So that's academyallaboutbirds.org. Just put Bird Academy in Google and you'll get there. But their Raptor class is wonderful because it covers not only the East, but, you know, across North America. Really quite good. Lastly, just to say, we have 2 special field trips coming up before I turn to Trudy tonight. We have Hook Mountain Hawkwatch. We'll guide people up there from Rockland Lake State Park on this day. Some of you know there's a side trail to go up a little quicker off 9W, which you can see pictured here. But this is an amazing hawkwatch. If you don't know about it, you can find information on our website too, and at Trudy's page. But amazing views. Lower right-hand corner gives you a sense of the view you have of the Hudson and its bridges. Beautiful vistas, 360-degree view. And so the hawks, you're seeing them at eye level or lower, as Trudy will tell you more about. Just amazing. And then we'll also do a field trip out to State Line Lookout. And this is literally a wheelchair accessible hawkwatch. You're right on the edge here, and the parking is right next. This is Friday, October 16th. And you can see a look here of where you are. So you're parking back here, and you're going right up here to this edge of rocks, looking straight down on the Hudson and watching the hawks come down the Hudson. There's a cafe and restroom here too. Kind of cool. You do charge parking now, though. All that info's online. So that's enough of my intro part. What I'd like to do now is turn it over first to Trudy Baddeley, who'll be telling us about the hawkwatches she's most familiar with. And then after Trudy will be Mike Bachnick talking about Lenoir Preserve. And I know one of the things that Trudy will say as she starts her screen share and no doubt Michael will echo as well, is hawk watching is something that really could use volunteers. Definitely. So listen carefully and see if that might interest you.
Okay. I'd like to know how many of you have a place that you think is a magical place. I have two such places. And of course, you get magic from a place based on the experiences that you have there. So for me, Hook Mountain and Fire Island, which are the two Hawkwatch sites that I frequent every week in the fall, are places that I think are magical. All right. To me, it's magic because it connects me to the world out there. And it connects me directly to those raptors. And sometimes I get to see a raptor and actually, let me just move this out of the way. All right. Actually get what I call a hawk handshake by looking them straight in the eye as they go by me. All right. In this particular case, this is part of the magic of Hook. You can be there, and this is an immature red-tailed hawk, probably new that year, a new young one of the year. You can tell he's an immature by looking at those windows that are kind of rectangular. Drew taught me when I first learned about hawks, that's windows to the trailing edge as opposed to a red-shouldered hawk. But this is the experience you get up on Hook. You're right there with those birds. And this bird is flying right at me, all right? So close to me. I couldn't even get the whole bird of my image on the camera, and moves around. That, to me, integrates me into that wild environment and becomes magical for me. And Hook is magical. You can see a lot of what the surrounding looks like in this video, too. That was the high school in the background. And so there we go. This one is sitting down. There you go. Lands in a tree just past the that's actually the fake owl sitting there, and another bird goes over out of my view and chases that one off again. So and sometimes they, even if there's nobody else up there, they even land in a tree right near you, and you can look straight into their eye and exchange a moment, say hello. Okay, so it's a magical place. The other place, of course, is Fire Island, which I don't really have any slides here for, but that's also a magical place in that you're right down there in the middle of the environment with all the living things around you, and the hawks are flying left and right of you when you're standing right there on the platform. So Hook has been around with data collection. Of course, it's been around a lot longer than that, since it was part of Pangea a long time ago, but it's been around collecting data on hawks since 1971. That goes back to the beginning years for hawk watching in the Northeast. All right. And one of the things that we've done now in counting hawks, we've counted 597,272 hawks in all of those years. That's just what we recorded. There's probably a lot more that went by that we missed, all right? Anyway, so the point is, all we need is less than 3,000 hawks to get to 600,000 this year. 2,768 hawks. We could do that, all right? We could get that almost in one day, all right? We have a chance to do that this year. So my question is, will you be there when we count that 600,000th hawk this year? So I don't know. Hopefully you'll be there. Hopefully I'll be there. All right. So these are some of the views that we get when we actually climb the mountain. I actually was going to go into Google Maps or Google Earth and show you how to get there, but Anne kind of showed you the way earlier, so I could skip that. And these are our views and the things that we can see. And I should go back to the beginning over here, because we can see up here is Bear Mountain, right up there on the mountain. And of course we have Rockland Lake down below us. And then we've got Croton Point, out the tip of Croton Point up by the Nature Center, we can see from there. And then across the river, that may be Ossining. And then we have the hills named here, but these trees often, red-tails will sit down in there, or even sometimes a red-headed woodpecker. I mean, you never know what you're going to see up there. And then Tarrytown, White Plains, and so on. Then the Tappan Zee Bridge. Now, we often get birds in that tree as well. Cedar waxwings a lot, and a lot of robins are eating the berries in the fall. So we have Piermont there, and of course, over Tolman Mountain, we often can see New York City. So it's a magical place. You can get up there and see all around. And that's Drew. He was coming up from checking the spot where we've only had 4 short-eared owls in all the years that I know of. There's probably short-eared owls been up there before and seen by people before, but I know of 4. And that was one of the reasons why we checked those grasses all the time for short-eared. So Drew and I had one up there in 2012 that came out of those grasses and flew around the mountaintop and then back down. So this is what September of last year looked like, all right, in terms of numbers. We started off light in the beginning of the year, and sometime around the 10th of September, we started getting double-digit numbers, triple digits, all right, with broadwings around the 11th, 13th, and so on. And you can see that we had the concentration last year sometime around the 18th, 19th, and 20th, all right? Anne was up there on the 18th. She had almost 400, one shy. And Drew and I were up there the next day, had fewer, but the day after that, they were over 1,000 in one day. And Anne showed you the kettle there. The next day, interestingly, was peregrine falcon. And in this case, peregrines are becoming not quite so numerous as they used to be. And 4 was our maximum number for last year in a single day. Okay. So this is Broadwing hawks at Hook Mountain. This is the season, as Anne showed you those timelines. At Hook Mountain is very similar to that. It's a very short flight period. Of all of the species, the Broadwing hawk is the only one that is that short a flight period. Started somewhere around the 9th of September and tapering off by the 20th, all right? Sometimes there's a little bit of an echo over here at the end of the month, but for the most part, at Hook and at most sites all over the Northeast, this is the time frame from the 9th of September to about the 28th or so of September. And after that, we may get singles, but not very much. So this was 2011, when instead of 1,000, we had over 14,000 broadwings in a single day. I had to throw that in there, even though it wasn't very recent, but because as far as I know, that's the highest broadwing day that I've experienced up there. Drew can tell you about days from historical days that were more than that, but 14,670 broadwings in a single day. That is incredible. And similar to the kettles that Anne showed, we had 14,670 that day. It was September 17th of 2011. And I'll let you listen to some of the voices and the comments.
How about one count? How many are in that?
I counted 58. Yeah. Much nicer than on the past.
Sorry. Wow.
So these were broadwings right over the summit, directly over the summit. We had many that day that were way off on streams to the north and streams to the south. We had some people only watching the north, some people only watching the south, and a whole bunch of us watching overhead. And we were counting broadwing hawks. And the number is pretty accurate because I kept it. And I made sure I had the same numbers from 2 different groups before they were actually counted. So it was pretty well documented one. Now we get other species in September as well. And notice how much wider this flight period is. This is osprey. And osprey start in September and they peak. Now, not necessarily peak, but their median date, half of them are through by September 19th, and the other half still have to come. And they continue to come and peter off up until the end of October. Now, some of our data may be skewed a little bit because we haven't always watched in November. But nevertheless, you can see how it's tapering off. So osprey is a species that's predominantly September and October. And then kestrels are similar, where they peak, or that half of them are through by September 22nd, and the other half are coming through and again tapering off a little bit. All right. So that seems to be a pattern for a lot of them. All right. So that means that when you go to the Hawkwatch, yes, you might see broadwings in the middle of September. If you go in October, that doesn't mean you're not going to see any birds, just because some of these birds aren't quite as numerous. All right. We still have many other species that are moving through in October. And of course, this is just a kestrel, different flight pattern there with flap, 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 flap. So northern harriers, again, another species, this time right at the cusp of the months here, early October is the median date for northern harrier at Hook Mountain. So by October 6th, half of them are through, and the other half come after that. But notice their later dates go all the way up until November 20th. So we only count up until Thanksgiving, and we don't always get coverage close to Thanksgiving, which reminds me, we're a volunteer watch. We don't pay anybody to count for us. So we only get numbers if people go and help us out. But I believe that our numbers are consistently reliable from year to year, because normally many of the same volunteers come and help out. And so we have many of the same people counting from year to year to year to year. And when the changes are made, it's made, one person can't make it this year, and so somebody else fills in. It's not changing the whole counting, the whole thing of who's counting. And so our data, really, the data for hawk counting is most important that we keep the numbers, because we want the numbers to compare from year to year. And even if the numbers aren't good that day, it's a really important day. It's important to be there, because that means that we know something. We know that the hawks weren't there that day. So why not? All right. And so we can start thinking about how our numbers that we counted, these watches, actually can help us with raptor conservation. We're counting migrants. We're not actually doing population counts. We're counting migrants. So are they moving someplace else to migrate? Or are they, in fact, is their population declining? There are all kinds of questions that can be asked if you start losing species. And we have some species that have declined, particularly sharp-chin hawks. So this is October. And one of the things that we have here is not a whole lot of days. There's only one day with triple-digit numbers. This was just last year in October. And it happened to have been a very slow year last year. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, in 2003, throughout the whole Northeast was a banner year, absolute banner year. There were 250,000 broadwings alone in the Northeast that year, a banner year. Our best year per 100 hours when you standardize the data across the board. It was the second best, I think, with actual numbers, all right, compared to historical numbers. An absolute banner year. Then 2 years ago, in 2024, we dropped out. We had basically our worst year in 2024 in terms of numbers of hawks since the 1980s, right? And then this past year was similar to 2024, but not quite as bad, all right? But the point is, we didn't really get a whole lot in October. We got more birds in September. And of course, you always get more birds in September because of broadwings. But usually we would get hundreds of birds. We've had 2 or 3 days in October with hundreds of sharpshins, at least 100, maybe 200, sometimes 300. So the sharpshin numbers have been declining. And one of the things I wanted to show you is something I've done for the Northeast Hawkwatch. I think that a lot of what's going on, we can relate this to rain, we can relate it to wind, all right? But the wind and the rain relate to weather systems, all right? So what I've done for the last 3 years, this is our very big year in 2023. For each one of the years, so we have 2023, 2024, 2025. For each of these years, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, I think there's 5 days. All right. The first day is the 11th of September. The second is the 15th of September. And then the 17th of September, the 19th of September. Okay, I missed one. 15th, somewhere in there, 13th. I missed one of them. Anyway, it's every other day through the 20 days from the 9th up until the 28th or something like that. So, but the point is that when you look at how are the years different? If we had a really, really good year in 2023, how is that different from 2024 and 2025? How is it different? Well, it's different in that we had days in 2023 where the jet stream actually passed over us. All right. So look at this, right over us and right over us. All right. That's probably all part of the same one, but it's passing over us. The jet stream actually moved through our region in 2023. It actually moved through our region. In 2024 and 2025, look it doesn't go over us. It's around us. It's above us. It's up north here. It's east of us, northeast of us. Maybe Maine had a little bit. I think they had an extra push up at what is it? Greenlaw Mountain. And up in Nova Scotia, where we have one watch in the region. All right, none of these has the jet stream gone through in either of these 2 years. So the weather patterns were similar. Now, last year, just after the broadwing season had finished, we did have a system come in. So it's just a couple of days afterwards. So we missed that system by hook or by crook. This year, we're going to get a system. I am determined that we're going to, I don't know how I'm going to make it happen, but this year I'm determined we're going to have a jet stream come through and we're going to have another good year. But so that's one of the things that I think is impacting us. And I think it's a consequence of global warming. But that's just from looking at data. I've been doing the Northeast Hawkwatch report since the 2015 report. So I've been doing it for 11 years and I've been looking at different parameters like wind and rain. And of course, we had very little rain last year either. Both 2023 and 2024 and 2025 had very little rain, but we had a fair amount of rain in this year. So it could be that rainfall is the one analytical, the one parameter, the numerical parameter that we can analyze. One of the problems with just looking at these images, they're pretty, they're colorful and everything, but there's no numbers associated with them to analyze them. So what I did last year was to look at the rainfall and also wind patterns. So anyway, that's a hypothesis that we have helping to explain the differences over the years. So other species in September, sharpshins and coops. And, of course, both of these have their median dates in early October. Sharpies are a little earlier than coops. And of course, although the graphs look very similar, the y-axes here are much different. All right, so we're talking here about an average, if we went through the middle here, say 20 to 25 a day, versus the Cooper's hawk, an average through the middle of this might be 2. All right, so that's over many years. All right, and actually, although the Cooper's hawks did increase in number, they haven't really been increasing recently. To some extent, they've been in decline. So, okay. So we're moving now from September into October. And of course, when we do that, we get to see more of the buteos. And of course, these red tails are around all the time, these young red tails, almost all the time. Although I think Raymond, who's here tonight, was at Hook today. I don't know how many he saw today, but so we get a lot of action up at Hook, a lot of red tail action, a lot of turkey vulture action. And even if they're not migrating, they're really, really fun to watch because we can see interactions between them and other species. So shoulders, red-shouldered hawks at Hook. And the red tails that we just saw. Those median dates are October 31st for shoulders, November 2nd for red tails, so about the same. So they're mostly October and November birds, all right? And they may even be more into November because we really haven't counted year to year to year to year that much in November. So probably even into December. And I just had to show this because I love to see the windows on the red-shouldered hawk as the crescent windows as opposed to those rectangular windows to the trailing edge on the red tails. So here we have November, and I threw in 2021 because we didn't have a whole lot last year in November. And because in 2021, we actually had over 1,000 monarchs. MO is monarchs, all right? But of course, GE up here is golden eagle, and we had a day in November. That was the 4th of November in 2021 when we had 7 golden eagles in one day. Now, I think there was a point when we had, I can't remember how many we had at once. I think we had 3 at once, but there was also 3 bald eagles hanging around at the same time. It was only Drew and I and Vince Ploger were up there. And so it was very hard to get any pictures of the golden eagles because it was hard to get the camera on a bird and know at the same time that it was the golden instead of the bald and so on. So people who are camera people might appreciate that, although you might be better at it than I am. But notice that we had 3 peregrines, and that was a high in that year, in 2021. So I didn't have the time to, I was preparing this kind of quickly today. So this was the last point where I got a good picture coming in. After this, I stopped and I didn't take the time to go looking for a golden eagle. This, of course, is a bald. But the bald eagles have a median date of September 30th and go the whole season. They're there all year, and I'm not even sure they're migrating. They look like they're migrating. We only count the ones that go south. We see them every day. We often see them going north. We often see them playing with each other and tumbling in the air. I mean, they do all kinds of things. But the golden eagles are generally, okay, I'm going the wrong way. Golden eagles are generally later in the season. I think of them as a Halloween bird because I've seen them on Halloween. So they're later in the season at Hook. And I just wanted to point out that this is going to be our 56th year. All right. So this is 2026. It's going to be our 56th year on Hook with data collected by lots and lots of people. And you could be one of them. In fact, many of these people are no longer able to get up to the Hook. Some of them either moved out of the area or can't climb because they have bad knees, or, there are a number of things that have happened to some of these people. So most of them actually have moved. A lot of them have moved that no longer come. So we really do need hawk watchers. We need help. All right. Right now we have all day. Well, we have Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday covered. And Ann is doing Thursdays. Drew and I are doing Fridays. So we invite anybody to come up on those days. And then John Phillips is doing Mondays, and Betsy Weisendanger and Raymond, who is here tonight, I believe, are doing Tuesdays. So we invite you to come up and help us out. Or if you know your hawks, we could use your help as a counter on one of the days that we need covered. We need Saturday covered and we need Wednesday covered right now. So I would appreciate any help that anybody can offer. And we're all volunteer. So if we don't have coverage for the day, it's very possible we won't get data for that day. And every day of data is important. The Hawkwatch only really is an official watch where we can look at data from year to year if we write it down, if we document it, right? If we don't document it, we don't know how many went by. You may remember, you may have very special memories. It may be a magical day that you remember. But the point is, if you don't give us the numbers, so we need people to help us count. So join us. You can reach me at merwin@pipeline.com. You can check out our website at Hook, which has information. Right now, it doesn't have anything brand new, but if you check it out and go to the menu at the top of the menu, and if I click on it now, I'll end up out of this. So I'll wait a minute. But the top left of the menu has the schedule, so you can see who's on that day. Well, actually, it's just initials. I'm not putting anybody's name online. So, and Drew knows a lot about Hook, can help you if you have any questions, if you can't reach me. He also is probably one of the people who's been going up to Hook the longest right now, because he started before I did. He brought me up there the first time. And then, of course, the Northeast Hawkwatch has a lot of the materials that Ann was mentioning before. That silhouette guide is actually a Northeast Hawkwatch guide, and it is free and available and has been for decades online. And then the Northeast Hawkwatch report. So what I write every year it's just at the report site, and so you can take a look at some of the history, not history per se, but some of the trends for the Hawks. The centerfold from each report is the trends page, and you can join. It's only $10 to join, and I have a couple of different things. Red tails never cease to amaze us. And as we were ending one of the days last year, I think this was, I thought it was a mouse, but I slowed it down and zoomed in a little bit, and it's a stick. So, so red tails play with sticks. And I guess they need to if they're going to be building nests, right? So that was one of them. And then this other one is something I think is amazing. Doesn't look amazing yet, but watch. Whoa!
Oh, did it spin over?
He rolls over in the sky. And so I slowed it down and did it over again. You just never know what you're going to see when you go to Hook Mountain. It's a magical place, a wondrous place. So that's it, folks.
Welcome to Michael. I'm going to jump right in, who's going to be telling us about the Lenoir Hawkwatch. Thank you, Trudy. That was excellent.
So, Lenoir Hawkwatch. This is basically an urban hawkwatch since we're in the city of Yonkers. It's not as extensive as some of the other hawkwatches. This is a part-time hawkwatch, but it's a great way to introduce people to hawkwatching. And it does give clues to where some of these birds go after they hit Greenwich and Bedford hawkwatches on certain days, because we certainly don't get the numbers that they do. And so these other small hawkwatches, which have at times occurred in at Lenoir, Batterman's Castle in Central Park, and even the parking lot of Pelham Bay, gives us a clue about where these hawks kind of go after they hit those main hawkwatches. Okay. Come on. There we go. So where are we? Well, basically in northwest Yonkers, right off the Sawmill. Just take Executive Boulevard exit up to the end, make a right, and then just go for the easiest walk to the Hawkwatch. You can park at the new parking lot at the Lenoir Mansion or the Whitman Mansion, depending on your preference. But it's the second driveway on the left, and you just wrap around past the mansion to the parking lot, and we meet in front of the mansion. This is our view. We overlook basically the Hudson River, and that's the mansion that we are in back of. And our favorite thing, we always look for the sitting cat first time out. This it's a rock formation that sloughed off the Palisades, right just a little south of State Line. And it's still there. This is actually a picture I took today. And so it looks like a sitting cat. And it first appeared in 2003. So what happens when this new rock is exposed, it's a much lighter color. And it takes decades of oxidation for those stone to oxidize into a darker color. So it's always a fun little thing to point out to people to see the sitting cat at Lenoir. Again, we're a good, friendly group. Just bring out some chairs, and it overlooks a field. It used to be lawn many years ago. Now it's maintained as a field with trees around there, and the Beverly Smith Butterfly Garden is very close by, which I might mention a little later. Just to get in some birds here again. We've actually been out 5 days already. It's still slow out there, but we had 4 bald eagles migrating south today. And like I said, the early birds, again, ospreys and bald eagles can start trickling in through October. We already had a few broadwings come through, only a couple a day, but again, they have already started. And then, of course, we wait for September, where things pick up. We'll start getting the Sharpie on the left and the Coopers in the middle. And then much later in the season, the red-shouldered hawk. And we get our fair share of falcons, kestrel on the left. Interesting thing about kestrels, and the other hawk watchers can attest to this. If you want to get your kestrel numbers up, you really got to be there late in the day, because that's when a lot of them, for some reason, they come through in the afternoon in better numbers. At least we've seen that many, many times at the Lenoir Nature Preserve. I guess we got peregrine falcons in the middle and merlins on the right. We used to have to be careful because the pair of merlins on the pair of peregrines on the other side used to come over to chase the peregrines that are coming through our area. But I've noticed with the increase in peregrines, those guys tend to stay on the other side now. They don't come over as often as they used to, which makes counting the peregrines that are moving through a little easier. So come out. What's nice about this, again, you can do some hawk watching. It's low key, so if you want to start becoming a Hawkwatch counter and you need more practice, we need volunteers. Again, we're part-time. I've lost a lot of our past hawk watchers. Good news is that I retired in January, so my wife Kelly and I were going to be out there a lot more and hopefully get better numbers and better coverage. But we still need coverage. In fact, there's a couple of weekends coming up, especially during a broad wing migration where we won't be there. So we can use a helping hand at Lenoir. And again, it's low key, so there's much less pressure. So if you want to try your hand at being an official hawk counter, this is a good place to start. Get your feet wet and stuff. But what I do like about Lenoir is we see a lot of other things, as well as the other hawk watchers do. But between the field, being right on the Hudson, all the hawk watchers will see monarch butterfly migration. And when you're watching those thousands of broadwings or hundreds of broadwings up in the air, you will actually see monarch butterflies with them. They're actually riding the same thermals as the broadwings, and it's kind of cool. Our numbers have certainly dropped on the monarchs, but hoping for a better year this year. But we have a lot of birds that come through. Phoebes and palm warblers seem to be hanging around for weeks, and they can become very tame, come right up towards the Hawkwatch and stuff. And of course, we're along the Hudson, so we'll see a lot of different gulls and some other water birds come down in the season, including later in the season, a lot of ducks and geese. And talking about migration of other birds, we also tend to try and count, especially on bigger days, other birds that are coming through. This is brant that are coming down the river. Interesting, brant numbers seem to be way down the last few years. I don't know, don't have an explanation for that. They still end up on Long Island in big numbers. But the other thing, we have seen some incredible migration, such as blackbirds, mixed flocks of redwings and grackles, and some cowbirds, and maybe even some starlings. But as well as big movements of blue jays. In fact, in 2001, we had in one season over 86,000 blackbirds come by. Sometimes you can't figure out quickly enough what the mix is, and so we'll group them as blackbirds. And some days they were just coming through and stuff. Blue jays, you don't know, blue jays do migrate or at least retreat from the north. We really see that at Lenoir in big numbers. They'll be coming through in first 25, 50 groups, and then a little later in the season, 100, 250 groups at a time, mainly in the morning. In fact, I think I counted well over 2,000 in the first 2 hours of a Hawkwatch one day. As you can see, again, a lot of brant and a lot of cedar waxwings come by. But we also see a lot of the other migrants. And before I get to that, you can actually see how the hawks kind of migrate here. Most of our hawks are coming from Connecticut. They're coming basically out of the northeast, kind of over the mansion or just north of the mansion. And they see the Hudson River. And then they have a decision to make. Are they high enough to cross the river, or do they go south? So we're at about 300, 320 feet. The Palisades across the way are about 500 to 550 feet. So they have to climb enough height, and you'll see them in thermals, get higher and higher. And if they think they're high enough to cross the river and make it to the top of the Palisades, they'll do that. They'll cross the river. But if the thermals are not doing as great, you'll see them climb up, and as the thermal kind of peters out, you can see them make a decision. They don't go across, they actually go south, trying to look for a shorter way across the Hudson. Next to the last slide, we also observe a lot of other interesting phenomena. I think I was one of the first people to realize that as red-bellied woodpeckers their populations moved further and further north, that they partially migrate, that the northern birds go south. Because I was seeing 10, 12 years before anybody really had great indication that these birds were moving, that I was seeing red-bellied woodpeckers constantly coming across the field from the north to the south, and they were only going one way. It was about a number of years later, as the population got more populous up in New England, that the people on Long Island noticed that red-bellied woodpeckers in the fall started hitting the barrier beaches. And where they realized that, yeah, these birds are now migrating south because I guess the winters are a bit too short. So, yeah, we've seen that. The other thing is we also see chickadee movement. So last year we had very poor chickadee movement, and I predicted that the numbers were going to be generally low down here because most people don't realize also chickadees do move from the north. Um, they don't go much further south than this, but uh, we would see them flying again across the field, going from the north to the south. And in good years, then we know on the Christmas bird counts, we're probably going to have really good numbers. And when we don't see that, we tend to have poor numbers. So it's kind of the cool thing that we get to see. So not only seeing with hawks, but we're seeing a lot of other migration take place. And again, migration is just a great thing to observe. And the last but not least, since we're along the Hudson, we also get some other cool things. We've seen a lot of different aircraft come by during the seasons. This is just a small sampling. I always like the military planes that might come by, but we've seen prototype planes come by, all sorts of other things. So you never know what you're going to see when you come by the Hawkwatch. So stop in. Again, we have a few programs on Saturdays from 10 to 12 coming up in the next 2 months that will definitely be out there. But Kelly and I, since we're retired, we will be up there many other days. Can't predict when we will have the time to do it. Certainly on the North Wednesdays. I don't have to take off from work on a North Wind day, Northwest or North Wind day to take off anymore. I can get up there now. So our coverage will be better. And again, we could use some new volunteers to help cover. And again, it's a good way to, again, if you don't think you're good enough to really be a hawk watch counter just yet at some of the better hawk watchers, this is a great place to get experience because it's a little bit more low key. So if you're just starting hawk watching, come on out. And again, very easy access. Our Hawkwatch site is only about 100 yards from the south parking lot. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us for this program tonight. And a reminder of the Raptor ID handout that you can get at sawmillriveraudubon.org/raptors or using the QR code on the screen. And the third page of that handout includes a lot of different resources that might interest you about hawks and hawk migration. The Hawkwatch DVD in the lower right-hand corner, you have to find it used if you can. It's quite good. It's on Eastern Raptors, shows you hawks in flight. All right, and that's on the handout as well, same QR code. We always recommend as well Cornell Lab of Ornithology's Bird Academy programs. They're excellent, and their one on raptors is very good, covers all of them across the US and Canada, eastern and western parts of the continent. And once you buy these, you can rewatch them every year to refresh for the season ahead. So we much recommend them. They have them on shorebirds and waterfowl, but the raptor one is quite good too. So thanks for joining us tonight. Our other upcoming bird chats are shown on the screen. Of note, the fourth Tuesday topic in September will be gull ID with Shoei Mitra. We expect to record that as well. You can always get the latest bird chat info online at sawmillriveraudubon.org/chat. Get the Zoom link whenever you need it. So we started these during the pandemic and have continued them since. And we always end them by saying good health and good birding. Get outside, enjoy the hawk migration. Here's a broadwing soaring by for us. And the QR code on this screen will take you right to our website. Thanks for joining us for this presentation.